You're listening to the Hour of the Time. I'm William Cooper.
And I'm Paul.
You know, this is the first time you've done the pledge since your little sister was born. You know, she's listening to you, and you have to set a good example, as you have always done. How do you like that little girl?
Well, I told her tonight that you're going to listen to my pledge allegiance tonight, okay?
Yeah, and pretty soon she'll be doing it, won't she?
Yep.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sweetheart.
You're welcome. I love you, honey.
Glad you could make it. Welcome to New World Order. Never in human history has so few taken so much from so many as America's Illuminati and their warlords of Wall Street and Washington. In just 8 years, these banksters and international government gangsters took us from the greatest creditor nation to the largest debtor nation on earth. Our standard of living has dropped like a rock for 4 out of every 5 Americans. They have foreclosed on our homes, our farms, our factories. They've exported your jobs and surrendered our arms. They want a new world order. A new world order. A new world order. A new world order. The Illuminati wants you to be a slave from birth to grave.
Oh, I do so much like that. You know, I spent 3 hours as a guest of Anthony Hilder's radio broadcast today. And it was a trip because, you know, he's sedated on morphine, and for a while he forgot he had a guest in the beginning. And it was entertaining. It was amusing. It was informative. I'm sure the audience enjoyed it as much as I did. And we may have even awakened someone. Now, a lot of you have been calling about our FM transmitter, asking for more information. And I got to ask you, what's wrong with you? I even read you the numbers on the transistors. There isn't any more information, and you're not going to get any more, and we gave you a 100% money-back guarantee. You know, when I give you every possible thing that I can give you, and even read you the numbers of the transistors, and you call and ask for information, I got to wonder if there isn't something loose up there between your ears. I'm not an electronics expert, folks. We put this together for you. You can take it or leave it. If you take it, you can help us. You can help yourself. You can help educate people all over this country. If you want more information, you're going to have to go to electronics school, because I even talked to the people at the factory that makes it. There isn't any more information than what I've given you, and I'm going to give it to you again tonight. So listen very carefully. And if you think you need more information, maybe you don't need this transmitter, is what I'm thinking. Sometimes you guys just blow my minds. And then you're calling asking where to get it. We're selling it. Remember, folks, I've told you 500 million, thousand, trillion times, if there is such a number. Unless I tell you otherwise, make all checks or money orders out to Annie, A-N-N-I-E. Send them to the Intelligence Service, P.O. Box 1420, Sholo, spelled S-H-O-W-L-O-W, Arizona, 85901. Once again, make all checks or money orders out to Annie, A-N-N-I-E, unless you are told otherwise, and send them to the Intelligence Service, P.O. Box 1420, Sholo, spelled S-H-O-W-L-O-W, Arizona, 85901. Now, let me tell you about our FM transmitters. It transmits on the FM radio band. And that's anywhere from 80 to 108 megahertz. That's the FM broadcast band. It's a real and proper FM broadcast transmitter. It's not a surveillance bug or a baby monitor or anything like that. It's a real FM broadcast transmitter. It tunes really easy. It has a little tuner pot, little screw, and you can tune it to any frequency you want to broadcast on. It runs on 12 to 15 volts DC, so you can use it at home, in your car, on your boat, in your RV, or you can just go out in a field and connect it properly to a 12-volt battery. It can be connected to a mixer, a CD, a tape player, a microphone, a stereo set, or a radio, whatever you need to broadcast with. We hope that you will use it to rebroadcast the hour of the time. Artists broadcast it simultaneously, and next week, I hope to get a satellite expert on here to tell you how to put together your own low-cost satellite system so that you can pluck us right off the satellite in beautiful, beautiful high-fidelity sound and rebroadcast us on your little low-power FM transmitter. If we can blanket this country with these low-power radio FM broadcast stations, folks, it won't take us long at all to wake up this country. And Clinton will be beside himself. He'll have to pull out his hair because he won't be able to just talk about shortwave anymore. You can have your own radio show. You can do whatever you want with it. It has excellent sound, folks, for broadcasting music or voice. Better than most low-cost stereo units, in fact. It's not stereo, it's monaural, but it's actually better sound than most low-cost stereo units. I guarantee you'll be impressed. It has a really well-designed oscillator section. Gives it excellent frequency stability. There's no frequency drifting. It has 3 full watts of output power, depending upon the height of your antenna. Should give you a true transmitter range of between 2 and 6 mile radius of where you're at. Which means if you're up kind of high like I am, you should be able to transmit for 6 miles in every direction, which is pretty good. I mean, what more can you ask for? Unless you got, hundreds of thousands of dollars and a lot of time to screw around with Big Brother, you could have a big radio station, but I don't think any of us can really afford that kind of thing. Now, most transmitters on the market are just toys, folks. They have about 1/10 of a watt output. That's 5 to 100 milliwatts of power. And the range is about 300 feet, maybe up to a mile. Some of them might get up to 2 miles. Ours gives you 60 times more get-heard power. Also, the power it takes to drive most radio frequency amplifiers from 10 to 100 watts. And if one day you want to be heard in the next town, we use the best parts and PC boards in our transmitters. You also, if you order the kit, you get plans to build an antenna. It tells you the materials you need. And if you order the assembled and pre-tested transmitter. It comes with a 1/2 wave dipole antenna and also plans so that you can build a 3/4 wave antenna if you wish, which will give you a 3 decibel gain over the 1/2 wave dipole antenna. And these are included with every order. Now, folks, this is the only micro broadcast transmitter company that I know that sells fully assembled and tested, not just kits. Fully assembled and tested. There may be some others out there. I've looked and looked and looked. I haven't found them. Where from us, you can buy the kit, or if you're not electronically inclined, you can buy the fully assembled and tested transmitter, and it comes with a 1/2 wave dipole antenna. All you have to do is go down to Radio Shack, get a power supply, and a little bit of coax cable to hook up your transmitter to your antenna. You get free technical support if you have problems. And we stand by our claim that this is a good product. It's fairly priced. And if you're not happy with this transmitter, we will refund 100% of your money except for the shipping charges. We can't refund the shipping charges. Okay? Now that's fair. And I think we're the only people that probably do that. Now we've already sold over 200 across the U.S., and not one of them has come back yet. Can you tell me anybody else who can give you that kind of a testimonial? Now, we cannot sell these transmitters to anyone living in the country of Canada. I'm sorry, folks, we can't do it. I'm not going to lie on what we send out because I'm not a liar. And if we send these transmitters into Canada and we tell the truth on the customs forms, you're never going to get them. They'll be confiscated at the border. Canada is already under the thumb of the New World Order. Okay, folks? Now, the kits, post-paid, are $100. Post-paid, $100. The fully assembled and tested transmitters that come with a 1/2 wave dipole antenna are $150 post-paid. Okay? Now, we can't do better than that. Don't call and ask for more information. You're not going to get it. There isn't any more information. I don't know what to tell you unless I pick up each part and read you the number off of it. I mean, this is all we can do. The supply voltage is 12 to 15 volts DC. The supply current is 0.5 amps. The input sensitivity, and I read all this the other night, is 10 millivolt to 1 volt. The input impedance is 10 hertz to 100 hertz. Kilohertz, I should say. Frequency range is 80 to 108 megahertz. That's the FM broadcast band. And you have to find a frequency that's not being used where you won't interfere with anybody else who's broadcasting on that frequency. And to do that, you have to drive around a bit and check it out at different times of the day and night, because you might start broadcasting at a time when somebody else just starts broadcasting, and since you didn't do a check at that time, maybe you don't know about it. It'll get you in trouble. The antenna feed is 750 HMS, whatever that is, -RG6U. Transistors, 2N3553. Output power, 3 watts. The size is 3 inches wide by 6 inches long by 2.5 inches high. Now, folks, if that isn't enough information, I don't know what to tell you. All sales are 100% confidential. Okay? And like I said, you get 100% money back guarantee. But I'm going to put a stipulation on that. You hook it up, you test it out, and this is only for fully assembled and tested transmitters, folks, not the kits. If you're putting together a kit and you screw it all up, don't send it back to be reimbursed, because we're not going to play that game. If you get the kit and you haven't assembled it and you decide you want your money back, send it back. We'll give you 100% refund on your money. The assembled and tested transmitters, you use that transmitter for 1 month, 30 days. If you don't think that it's a good deal, send it back. I'll give you your money back, 100%, no questions asked, as long as it's in full working condition. That's all there is to it. It's got to be in working condition, just like it was when you received it. Now, if something goes wrong with the transmitter that is not your fault, in other words, you didn't throw it out the window, drop it from a 20-story building or something like that, and it's not working, we'll refund your money, 100%, guaranteed. But I have to make these stipulations, folks, because somebody will drop it off a table and send it back and try to get their money back. And again, we don't play that game. If it's our fault, if it's defective equipment, if it's a failure of one of the parts, we'll refund your money. If it comes back and it's obvious that you ran over it with a truck or you dropped it out the window or somebody shot it with a pistol, we're not going to refund your money. Okay? So, please help us. Buy one of these transmitters, set up your own radio station, start your own radio show. The only thing that I would ask, folks, is if you set a schedule and you begin broadcasting on that schedule, stick with it. Because your listening audience, if you start switching your schedule or they start listening to you on certain nights that they know you're going to be there, and all of a sudden you don't feel good and you decide not to broadcast that night, then you lose your audience. And if you do it several times, they don't ever come back because they don't want to waste their time. They got other things to do. So if you set up your transmitter, you decide you're going to broadcast, set up a schedule and stick with it, folks, just like the hour of the time does every night. You know, there's a lot of nights I don't particularly feel like broadcasting. There's a lot of nights when I don't want to be obligated and tied down to this. But you see, once I decided to do this, I became responsible to do it. And it doesn't matter how I feel. And it's not going to matter how you feel. If you decide to do this, you have to do it. And you have to stick with it because people are going to count on you. And that's the truth of that matter. Now, I've got the lyrics to a song here that a man wrote and sent in to me. And he did it because of he was inspired to do this because of the birth of my daughter. But I think I understand from his letter that he had already written this song quite a long time ago. Now, he also sent a recording of him singing this song and playing the guitar on tape. And I got to tell you, he does a wonderful, fantastic job of writing lyrics to songs. But I think you ought to stick with that. So we're not going to play the tape, but I am going to read you these lyrics because they're just absolutely fantastic. This is by Mickey Thomas. I think it's wonderful. And he wrote this because of his love for his daughter. And he sent it to me because of the birth of my newborn daughter and because he's listened to Pooh over the years reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. You know, she started that, I think, when she was, well, I don't remember. It seems to me like she was 3, almost 4, but maybe one of you will remember and write me a letter. The title of this is My Daughter is the Flag I Wave. And it goes like this. My daughter is the flag I wave. She rides aloft and free, high above the evening shadows of the mountain's majesty. She rides above the shadows, floating gently on the wind, and as always in the evening she begins to sing again. My neighbor, too, is watching, and by the rhythm of his knee I know he rides beside her through the halls of history. And as I observe the glory reflected in my neighbor's eyes, I feel the shiver of the shadow as the evening breezes rise. I can hear my daughter humming. I can feel my daughter's beat, and my fingertips start drumming to the sound of marching feet. Vibrating, patriotic tunes drawn from deep within our hearts shake the windows of our rooms when the daughter's music starts. I think that's absolutely fantastic, and I thought that everybody out there should hear that. And Mickey Thomas, I thank you very much for sending that to me. And believe it or not, I listened to your tape, but I got to say this again. You got to stick to writing and stay away from the singing. And I mean that in the greatest kindness. Something else, folks, that you've got to know about. Now, I gave out this information at the end of a broadcast, and I was talking over some music, and on shortwave, that's hard to hear. the videotapes, 12 hours of videotapes of the presentation given by our Oklahoma station chief during the conference in St. John's are almost finished. If you'd like to get an advance order in, I'm going to give you the prices right now. Remember, it's 12 hours of videotape. 12 hours of videotape. It's about the Oklahoma bombing, but it's not really about the Oklahoma bombing. You can get an awful lot of information in this presentation about the bombing of the federal building in Oklahoma and our investigation into that bombing. But really what this 12 hours is all about, and what our station chief was trying to do in presenting this information at the conference, and she did it fantastically, was to train our people on how to supervise and conduct a major investigation of this type. And she talks about how it affects the family and what I expected from her and what she expected from herself and the day-to-day routine. And it is a fantastic presentation, folks. And really, if you ever wondered how the intelligence service really works, what we expect of our people and how they behave and perform, this will tell you. This will answer all those questions. If you want to know a lot about the bombing in Oklahoma, it will also answer an awful lot of those questions. And by the way, that investigation by our people in the state of Oklahoma has generated approximately 2,000 sheets of paper in actual daily and sometimes hourly reports. Someday we'll have it all compiled, and it'll probably make several books, at least 4 that I could think of. And our station chief is in the process right now of writing a book that we will publish. But if you'd like to get the 12 hours of videotapes, they are $55 for members and $70 for non-members post-paid. That's $55 for members, $70 for non-members post-paid. Again, that's 12 hours of VHS videotape. For members, $55. For non-members, $70. And it's, I don't know if you were listening during the time that we had our conference, but if you were, I think you probably discovered that you wished you had been there. And you heard some of it. So, that's that, and this is this. Now, this is major news, ladies and gentlemen, major news. You've all heard about this extraterrestrial alien abduction phenomenon, all these people running around the country claiming that extraterrestrials came through the ceiling of their house and lifted them out of their bed and up through their roof, and there's no holes in the roof or anything. And they were abducted into alien spaceships, and you probably heard the thing about the guy in Arizona that they made a movie about it called, well, I forgot what it was called. But anyway, this stuff and these reports have been going on for a long time. Personally, I believe, and the experts that we've talked to believe, and the intelligence service and CAGI believes that this is a very sophisticated mind control operation to promote the belief that we are being threatened by some little guys from some other planets. And of course, everybody, when they come to the realization that this is what's happening, they're going to be willing to sacrifice and give everything up to join one world government, which will promise to protect us from this threat. Total bullshit, nonsense, absolute blabberfacky. Now, this was falling through the floor, largely due to my efforts to expose all of this stuff after realizing, when I believed it for a while, that I had been taken for a ride big time I exposed it. And so all this UFO nonsense and extraterrestrial visitation and little alien stuff just fell through the floor. Where they used to be able to get thousands of people to their meetings, they're lucky if 6 come today. Unless they're the Looney Tune fringe that really get wrapped up into this stuff. Real people are starting to ask for proof, and there isn't any, so they're walking away from this, and that's really what they should do. I mean, you can keep investigating it. It's very interesting, and there's some very interesting people connected with this, I should say. But it began to take another upswing when all of a sudden a Harvard University tenured professor of the Harvard Medical School, a well-known and recognized psychologist, Dr. John Mack, came out and said that he examined so many abductees and that this was real and he had scientific proof, and he printed a book called Abduction. Well, I read the book. I waited for the book. He said he had scientific proof, and if he did, I was ready to change my mind and look at it in another way. Well, his book came out, and it's more blabberjacky. Poof or poco. It's more pillow fluff. It's all bullshit. There's no scientific anything in his book. This guy has totally discredited himself with his own peers, and Harvard, the faculty at Harvard, and the board at Harvard was so upset about it that they initiated an inquiry into what is this guy doing. And so we began our own inquiry and investigation, and not only us, but quite a few other people did. And it finally came out, folks. You see, about the time that John Mack began putting out this baloney and saying he had scientific evidence when in actuality he has no evidence whatsoever, it was extremely revealing to find that at that time he began to receive gifts annually from Lawrence Rockefeller of $250,000 a year, on top of a $194,000 grant that Lawrence Rockefeller made to start up this stuff on extraordinary experience research, translate abduction by alien beings. Lawrence Rockefeller gave him a grant to start up this program of $194,000. And then he gives him $250,000 a year. On top of that, Laura Rockefeller Chasen and Alida Rockefeller and Abby Rockefeller have donated tens of thousands of dollars to John Mack over the years, not including $86,000 in reported gifts from the Rockefeller Family Fund. I tell you, boy, every time I look into these creepos, I find the truth. You see, the Rockefeller family donated the land that the United Nations was built upon. The Rockefeller family promotes all of this baloney that's designed to destroy this country. The Rockefeller family are involved in the ownership of the Federal Reserve Bank and the phony scam called the IRS, which turns out to be the BATF in disguise, which turns out to be the Internal Revenue, which is, in fact, not an agency of the Treasury Department or the Department of the Treasury or even the United States government, but is a pure trust administered in Philippines, Guam, and Puerto Rico. Don't miss the next copy of Veritas, because if you do, you're going to be kicking yourself from now till the year 2000.
A-M-E-R-I-K-A. Comrade Clinton is marching us toward the millennium. His agenda, a new world order. He intends to foreclose upon the people and the property of the United States of America. Tuesday, Guerrero and her G-men of the UN said it was necessary to kill the congregation of Waco to save the children. Comrade Clinton guides us and guides us into surrendering our sovereignty piece by piece to a once world.
Well, folks, you're not aware of it, but I and those of us, others of us who keep an eye on these things, are very much aware. The rich, the powerful, are bailing out of paper. They are beginning to buy natural resources, metals, specifically gold and silver, and a strange thing is happening. These people who have so much money that they never have to worry about anything are starting to hoard food. Now, what does that tell you? Well, I don't know about you, but it tells me that if you're not doing the same thing, you ain't playing with a full deck. As a good friend of mine would say. So I suggest that if you haven't done it already, and if you haven't done it already, somebody ought to be cells lined up in the right direction. If you haven't taken steps right now, right this very moment or before, to protect what you have and to protect your family, then you've got to do it now. You must do it now. Call 1-800-289-2646. That's 1-800-289-2646. To make it easier to remember, 1-800-BUY-COIN. But it's not just coins that are offered. You can buy bullion if you want. You can buy numismatics, or you can buy current gold or silver coin issue, which is really the cheapest way to go. But that's up to you. Numismatics represent an investment, and you might really make a killing by investing in numismatics, but you have to know what you're doing. In any event, I want you to do this from my heart so that you don't get caught without any real money when the same thing happens here that happened in Germany and every place else in the world where the common medium of exchange was paper backed by nothing. And that's what you've got in your pocket right this moment. So call our friends at Swiss America Trading, 1-800-289-2646. And next week I'm going to be hitting you hard about money and finances and gold and silver and where we're headed, because it's just on the horizon. It's not far off. When I see the people who know doing the things that they are doing now, then I know that there is an imminent economic disaster before us. 1-800-289-2646. Get up off your lazy butt, go to the phone, and call right this moment. And ladies and kids, or husbands, if you're the one that is dependent upon the woman, and that's okay, it doesn't matter. If the person who's supposed to be taking care of this hasn't done it, then you better start wondering whether that person really cares like they say they do.
What's happened to you, America? Have you lost both your will to win and your mind? Would you willingly turn your children over to the Hitlerian Gestapo to be immunized with a mark? Will you allow your kids to be numbered like animals, as were the Jews and Gypsies in Nazi concentration camps, so they could be tracked and controlled from cradle to grave, and not raise your gun nor your voice? Have you bought Clinton's big lie and rejected the uncomfortable truth?
You know what's going on in Beijing here pretty soon, folks? Whole bunch of strange people are going there to discover how the United Nations is going to treat sex. And the big topic of discussion is going to be gender, and guess who's going to be there? Oh, that's right, Hillary. Hillary. How did she get to the age she's at and in the position that she finds herself in if she doesn't know about sex and what genders are? But folks, that's really just a disguise, because the whole conference is really about an upcoming resolution that will be presented before the UN and passed, and then presented before each nation state to be passed, freeing women from the responsibilities of child rearing and placing the children in the hands of the state. That's what it's really all about. I've studied all their literature. I've studied their agenda. I've studied the people in the organizations that back this and set it up. And that's what all this gender crap is all about. You mark my words. And of course, if the wife isn't responsible for child rearing, who is? Well, folks, if my wife came to me and told me that, which she never would because she's a fine woman, I would. But the state will never, ever get my children while I'm alive. Not in a million years. And now, let's talk a little bit about our friends at Microsoft. Windows 95, folks, is designed in the program to create an audit report of your hardware and software, everything in your computer. If you register online via the Microsoft network or Microsoft's BBS, all of the details of your system, unbeknownst to you, will be uploaded to Microsoft. Talk about Big Brother. This is it. The original article that blew this wide open appeared in Computer Reseller News over a year ago. Now, just in case you think that that was a fluke and they didn't really put it in there and Cooper's full of it, well, folks, it's not a fluke. And as usual, I'm certainly not full of it. Although sometimes I wish I were, because it would mean we didn't have to pay any attention to all this crap. But unfortunately, it's true. Now, there was a column called In Short in Information Week on page 88. This is Information Week magazine, May 22nd, 1995, right before the release. The column is called In Short, page 88, Information Week, May 22nd, 1995. Microsoft officials confirm that beta versions of Windows 95 include a small viral routine called Registration Wizard. Wizard. It interrogates every system on a network, gathering intelligence on what software is being run on which machine. It then creates a complete listing of both Microsoft's and competitors' products by machine, which it reports to Microsoft when customers sign up for Microsoft's network services. Due for launch later this year, customers must actively disable the routine if they don't want it to run. Now, if you're not a programmer, forget it. You would never know how to disable this routine. The implications of this action and the attitude of Microsoft to plan such an action beggars the imagination. And it may be just a very small implication of what is to come. Now, folks, the way to get around it is don't use Microsoft Network. Don't register online with Microsoft. And don't ever call Microsoft's bulletin board. It's as simple as that. Or you can find yourself a programmer that knows how to disable this thing. You see, what's so dangerous about this, folks, is a fellow got hold of the beta test CD of Win95, and he set up a packet sniffer between his serial port and the modem. So when you try out the free demo time on the Microsoft Network, it transmits your entire directory structure in the background. That's what he found. This means that they have a list of every directory and potentially every file on your machine, your financial records, the set of books that you use to keep track of your business. Oh, yeah. All of your friends and relatives, their addresses and telephone numbers. Your newsletter mailing list of all the people you promised you would never give out their name and address. It would not be difficult to have something like a file request from your system to theirs without you even knowing about it. This way they can get a hold of any juicy routines or files or papers or letters you've written, your books, and I don't mean books that you read, I mean your financial records, and claim them as their own if you don't have them copyrighted. How about that? See, Big Brother is not an invention. Big Brother is real. Big Brother is here. Big Brother's name during these few minutes tonight is Bill Gates and Microsoft. How about that? Now I'm going to give you just a taste, folks. I'm going to start right now and until the end of the hour. First, I'm going to tell you how to subscribe to Veritas right this moment. You can call tomorrow, 520-337-2878. That's 520-337-2878. And talk to Mike, and he'll tell you how to subscribe. Veritas is going to press on Tuesday. If we don't have your subscription by Tuesday, you're not getting this issue. In fact, it should be here before Tuesday. And if you want a single issue, just this upcoming issue, send $5 postpaid for that one issue. If you want to subscribe, it's $55 for 24 issues. $55 for 24 issues, ladies and gentlemen. And we're hoping to be able to lower the price sometime in the future. But we're not going to have back issues of this issue. This issue exposes the real identity and history of the Internal Revenue Service and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. And I'm telling you right now, this one story in Veritas could bring down the entire economy of the United States of America. And that's no lie. When this hits Washington, D.C., when it hits your house, it's going to cause such an uproar that I don't think such an uproar has ever been seen in this country. And this is not our opinion. This is truth. So if you'd like to subscribe to Veritas, make checks or money orders to Veritas and send them to Veritas at P.O. Box 3390. P.O. Box 3390, St. John's, Arizona, 85936. That's $55 for 24 issues. Make checks or money orders out to Veritas and send them to Veritas. P.O. Box 3390, St. John's, Arizona, 85936. Now, what I'm going to read you, and this is a long, long article, are just some random paragraphs from this article. I'm going to start from the beginning, and I'm just going to pick out on each page one or two paragraphs and read them to you. I'm not going to read you the rest of it. To get the rest of it, you're going to have to get Veritas. So here goes. Quote, This is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 5th paragraph on the first page. The Bureau of Internal Revenue and the alleged Internal Revenue Service were not created by Congress. These are not organizations or agencies of the Department of the Treasury or of the federal government. They appear to be operated through pure trust, administered by the Secretary of the Treasury, the trustee. The settlor of the trusts and the beneficiary or beneficiaries are unknown. According to the law governing trusts, the information does not have to be revealed. The organization of the Department of the Treasury can be found in 31 United States Code, Chapter 3, beginning on page 7. You will not find the Bureau of Internal Revenue, the Internal Revenue Service, the Secret Service, or the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms listed. We learned that the Bureau of Internal Revenue, spelled capital I and R, Internal Revenue spelled small I and R, Internal Revenue Service, the Bureau of Internal Revenue Service, Internal Revenue Service, small I and R, Official Internal Revenue Service, the Federal Alcohol Administration, Director Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Division, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms are all one organization, and we found this to be obfuscated. In the last century, the United States acquired by conquest. Again, I've skipped paragraphs, folks, and I'm going to continue to do that. In the last century, the United States acquired by conquest the territory of the Philippine Islands. The Philippine Customs Administrative Act was passed by the Philippine Commission during the period from September 1st, 1900 to August 31st, 1902, to regulate trade with foreign countries and to create revenue in the form of duties, imposts, and excises. The Act created the federal government's first trust fund, called Trust Fund Number 1, the Philippine Special Fund, Customs Duties, 31 U.S.C. Section 1321. The Act was administered under the general supervision and control of the Secretary of Finance and Justice. In 1933, President Roosevelt declared a banking emergency. Again, I've skipped several paragraphs, and I'm not going to tell you what's in them. The Congress gave the President dictatorial powers under the War Powers Act of 1917. Congress used the economic emergency as the excuse to give blanket approval to any and all presidential executive orders, past, present, or future. Roosevelt, with a little help from his socialist friends, was prolific in his production of new legislation and executive orders. In 1935, the Public Administration Clearinghouse wrote and Roosevelt introduced the Federal Alcohol Act. Congress passed it into law. The act established the Federal Alcohol Administration. That same year, the Supreme Court, in a monumental ruling, struck down the act among many others on a long list of draconian and New Deal laws. The Federal Alcohol Administration did not go away. It became involved in other affairs, placed in a sort of standby status. Between 1904 and 1938, the China Trade Act was passed to deal with opium, cocaine, and citric wines shipped out of China. It appears to have been administered in the Philippines by the Bureau of Internal Revenue. We studied a copy of the Code of Federal Regulations of the United States of America in force, June 1st, 1938, Title 26, Internal Revenue, Chapter 1, Parts 1 to 137. On page 65, it makes reference to the China Trade Act, where we find the very first use of such terms as income, credits, withholding, assessment and collection of deficiencies, extension of time for payment, and failure to file return. The entire substance of Title 26 deals with foreign individuals, foreign corporations, foreign insurance corporations, foreign ships, income from sources within possessions of the United States, citizens of the United States, and domestic corporations deriving income from sources within a possession of the United States, and the China Trade Act corporations. Again, I'm skipping. Under the Reorganization Plan, number 3 of 1940, which appears at 5 United States Code Service, Section 903, the Federal Alcohol Administration and offices of members and administrator thereof were abolished, and their functions directed to be administered under direction and supervision of Secretary of Treasury through Bureau of Internal Revenue. We found this history in all of the older editions of 27 U.S.C.S. Section 201. It has been removed from current editions. only 2 bureaus of Internal Revenue have ever existed, one in the Philippines and another in Puerto Rico. Events that have transpired tell us that the Federal Alcohol Administration was absorbed by the Puerto Rico Trust number 62, Internal Revenue. Again, I'm skipping. The fiction that because it was an excise tax it was legal is not true. The power of the federal government is limited to its own property as stated in Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 17, and to regulate commerce with foreign nations and among the several states and with the Indian tribes. As stated in Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 3, 18 U.S.C. Section 921 definition states, the term interstate or foreign commerce includes commerce between any place in a state and any place outside of that state or within any possession of the United States, not including the Canal Zone or the District of Columbia. But such term does not include commerce between places within the same state, but through any place outside of that state. The term state includes the District of Columbia, the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, and the possessions of the United States, not including the Canal Zone. The term includes means limited to. Only employees of the federal government, residents of the District of Columbia, residents of naval bases, residents of forts, U.S. citizens of the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico territories, and insular possessions were lawfully required to file and pay the victory tax. Remember, I'm skipping a lot of paragraphs between these things, ladies and gentlemen. On June 6, 1972, Acting Secretary of the Treasury Charles E. Walker signed Treasury Order number 120-01, which established the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. He did this with the stroke of his pen, citing, quote, by virtue of the authority vested in me as Secretary of the Treasury, including the authority in Reorganization Plan number 26 of 1950. End quote. He ordered the transfer, as specified herein, the functions, powers, and duties of the Internal Revenue Service arising under laws relating to alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and explosives, including the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Division of the Internal Revenue Service, to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, hereinafter referred to as the Bureau, which is hereby established. The Bureau shall be headed by the Director, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, hereinafter referred to as the Director. The Director shall perform his duties under the general direction of the Secretary of the Treasury, hereinafter referred to as the Secretary, and under the supervision of the Assistant Secretary, Enforcement, Tariff, and Trade Affairs and Operations, hereinafter referred to as the Assistant Secretary. Treasury Order 12001 assigned to the new BATF Chapters 51, 52, and 53 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1954 and Sections 7652 and 7653 of such code. Chapters 61 through 80 inclusive of the Internal Revenue Code of 1954. The Federal Alcohol Administration Act, 27 U.S.C. Chapter 8, which in 1935 the Supreme Court had declared unconstitutional within the several states of the Union. 18 U.S.C. Chapter 44, Title 7, Omnibus Crime Control and Safe Streets Act of 1968. 18 U.S.C. Appendix Sections 1201 to 1203. 18 U.S.C. 1262 to 1265, 1952, and 3615, and etc. Mr. Walker then makes a statement within Treasury Order 120-01 that is very revealing. The terms Director, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Division, and Commissioner of Internal Revenue, wherever used in regulations, rules, and instructions and forms, issued or adopted for the administration and enforcement of the laws specified in paragraph 2 hereof, which are in effect or in use on the effective date of this order, shall be held to mean, quote, the Director, end quote. You see, Walker seemed to branch the Internal Revenue Service, IRS, creating the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, BATF, and then with that statement joined them back together into one. In the Federal Register, Volume 41, Number 180 of Wednesday, September 15th, 1976, we find, quote, the term Director, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Division has been replaced by the term Internal Revenue Service, end quote. We found this pattern of deception and obfuscation everywhere we looked during our investigation. For further evidence of the fact that the IRS and the BATF are one and the same organization, check 27 USCA Section 201. Again, I'm skipping several paragraphs. The Federal Alcohol Administration, which administered the Federal Alcohol Act, and offices of members and administrator thereof were abolished, and their functions were directed to be administered under direction and supervision of Secretary of Treasury through Bureau of Internal Revenue, now Internal Revenue Service. The Federal Alcohol Act was ruled unconstitutional within the 50 states, so was transferred to the Bureau of Internal Revenue, which is an offshore trust, which became the Internal Revenue Service, which gave birth to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, and somehow the term Director, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Division, which is a person within the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, spawned the alleged Internal Revenue Service via another flick of the pen on September 15, 1976. In a brilliant flash of logic, Wayne C. Benson determined that he could check these facts by filing a Freedom of Information Act request asking the BATF to name the person who now administers the Federal Alcohol Act. If we were wrong, a reply stating that no record exists as to any name of any person who administers the Act would be returned. The request was submitted to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. The reply came on July the 14th, 1994, from the Secret Service, an unexpected source, which discloses a connection we had not suspected. The reply states that John McGaugh of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms of the Department of the Treasury administers the Federal Alcohol Act. You may remember from the Waco hearings that John McGaugh is the Director, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. All of our research was confirmed by that one admission. And folks, I have read you just a very few paragraphs out of so many that it almost takes up the entire newspaper. Good night, and God bless you all.
All of a sudden, in the middle of the night, there's a loud knock on your door. Hey, honey, something's not right.
Close your arms. Didn't step well fast. We're here from the government. We're here to help you.
And I'm from the IRS with a power to tax. If you've got a complaint, send us a fax.
Get out of this house. Surrender your guns. Give me your gold. You better obey if you want it to hold. There's the deucer and do what you're told.
Hillary Salala, Reno Janet Dyke, reading the words of General Albert Pike, demonic founder of the Ku Klux Klan, engineer of the Masonic Master Plan. Pike said Lucifer is God across this land, and Clinton saying take the mark in your right hand. While we're all dancing to the drums of a fourth Reich, Clinton's preparing it for another huge tax hike. Order out of chaos, depression, inflation, creates a panic and rapes the nation. Crisis creation. Incite black and whites. Programs. Agitation.
Don't resist. You're surrounded by the UN in white and brown.